Rita, what about you?
I thought it was really a great piece. It was also educational to me because I wasn't aware of what was happening in other counties with other kids. I mean, that was totally new for me. It's a great piece, and also I like to see one day for our story to be told in history books.
We'll do our part. We're going to try to do that. Don, what about you?
Well, again, I, like everyone else, I commend those who were involved in the production. I mean, it was excellent, super, very, very good. I'm glad that I did agree to participate. It's a lot of work. As I said before, and has been said by many on this panel, the actual value of this work is that it be used to educate the public, our young folks especially, but also older folks. There are many persons who make decisions, who go around saying that we should get over it, that it's all been taken care of. But obviously, there's a lot of baggage that we as individuals carry with us. But this society went through something that was the biggest change, social change, in the history of this country since the Civil War in 1959 and during those later years of the 50s. But we had no roadmap to get through this. The communities, local, and the states at that level and the federal government produced nothing to help its citizenry through this process. If it were done today, we'd have all kinds of town meetings, all kinds of committees, all kinds of people coming together to make this thing happen. There was resistance to this. There was nothing done to make this change to be productive. And we are suffering mightily 50 years later as a result of that. Let's not make the same mistake. It must be treated as it is. It's the greatest social change in American history since the Civil War. And we must recognize it.
Excellent. Michael, what about you?
First of all, just look at the film, I realized how blessed I was to be living in Arkham County. Because the leaders there, I didn't miss a day of school. None of us missed a day of school. And that's because the leaders there, both white and black, had the foresight to realize how destructive closing schools would be, not only for the black students, but for the white students. So they got together and decided to desegregate the schools, and we didn't miss a day of school. Nobody missed a day of school. I went from a black school, Harvard Boston High School, on one day to Stratford Junior High the next day. And we went from there to gradually, after we went there a year, they gradually started to bring more black students in, and to the junior highs and later to the high school. So we were doing it, everyone had the foresight to realize that it would be the best thing overall down the line, you know, for not only for Arkham County, for Virginia. And I'm fortunate in that respect that I had good training and we had good leadership from all the parents at that time on both sides to prepare us for what was happening and to help us through the situation. And we benefited as a result of this. And the film is great because it showed both ends, both sides of the issue. You know, what happened, how bad it was for those students who didn't get to school for 4 or 5 years, and how good it was for those who continued school. So I'm fortunate.
It was a better situation in Arlington. It depended on the locality, obviously. One thing I know Governor Wilder remembers, we were talking about Mayor Duckworth of Norfolk. I grew up down in Norfolk. I remember Mayor Duckworth because my father used to curse him out a lot. But the mayor of Norfolk, Paul Freeman, I want you to know that Norfolk was incredibly supportive of this film and contributed a substantial amount of money from the coffers of the city of Norfolk for it. We didn't get the same cooperation, unfortunately, from other localities. I won't mention any like the one we're in. And Mayor Freeman direct opposite of Fred Duckworth. And just one little anecdote that we told at the summer conference. The business interests in Norfolk understood that massive resistance was deadly to the economy. What business would want to locate in a city that didn't have public education? I mean, it's just absurd when you think about it. Well, the local businessmen, who of course were all white and all wealthy, almost to a man, supported segregation, strongly supported segregation. But for their financial interests, they understood they had to make a break. So they took out a full-page ad in the Virginian Pilot newspaper down there. And you saw it in the film. Mason worked it into the film. They misspelled prefer. But they actually started their full-page ad with, wow, we would greatly prefer to save the segregated schools. And then they went on to explain why. Well, you would think that that would have softened the blow for the segregationists. Mayor Duckworth took that full-page ad, which was signed by those businessmen, and he posted it on his mayoral door. And anytime one of those businessmen came by for a favor, he would point to their name on the paper and shut the door. And that's the way it worked back then. He was a bird. He was a bird mayor. Even Norfolk was controlled by the bird machine back in those days. I'm going to ask the panel one more question, but we're going to take a few questions from the audience. I want you to be thinking about what you want to ask this tremendous panel. But